Hi, Danny Fleming.
And Marcus Collins from MA Properties.
And we're here for a session, a Sellers Masterclass on downsizing. Now, we think it's really, really important to educate folks or to give information to people that helps them work through what they're doing with real estate. Our Sellers Masterclasses are a whole series of smaller topics. And look, we do this all the time. We do them in person. In person, it gives you the opportunity to ask questions real time. But if you have any questions at all about this, then email us or call us, and we'd be happy to talk, because you'll probably be able to tell fairly soon that we really like talking about this stuff.
We'll talk a lot. I won't talk a lot. Danny will talk a lot.
Yeah, he'll talk a lot. He'll talk a lot. No.
Probably a bit.
Okay, so the agenda.
The agenda. So, well, I'm all rugged up, and so are you, really, because we're in our basement doing this. So sorry about that. Much more fun if we do it in person.
Yes.
Live in person. It's much more fun as opposed to being in our basement, which is a little bit cold tonight. Right. So where are we with our agenda?
Because you don't put the heat on. That's why.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. It's my fault, of course. All right. So the agenda this evening. What are we going to talk about? So there's a lot to talk about in terms of transitioning from your current home, usually in terms of downsizing, of course, to a smaller home. Lots to figure out. And as Danny came up with this, at least you learned this.
Somebody came up with this phrase when I was talking about downsizing just last week, and
Right.
I don't remember who, but I thought it was a great comment, a great explanation of what downsizing means. And it means trying to fit the contents of a big drum, 5-gallon drum, into a tiny little tuna can. So, and I thought, oh my goodness, yeah.
Good luck with that one.
And yeah, so no, that's...
So that's kind of what we're going to try and figure out this evening. At least we can't figure it out for you, of course, but we can at least give you a process by which you can begin to think about this. Because the one thing I think we have learned, and we'll mention it a few times in the presentation, I'm sure, is that for many people, this is a daunting prospect. You look at your house and you go, gosh, I've lived here for 5, 10, 15, maybe longer years. Oh, I've collected so much stuff, excuse the word, possessions, perhaps a better word, that, where do I start? So that's kind of what we're going to give you this evening is a process by which you get from where you are today, hopefully to the point where you move into the new home, and that was a relatively seamless process.
And this is based on experience of not only what we've done, but what we've seen people that we're working with do. And we can sort of see, well, that works really well. Ooh, that's not really a good way.
Yeah, that's something to avoid doing the following. So you'll see that as we kind of work through this. So what are we going to talk about? So a little bit around timing, when you should be thinking about this, what's the right time to do certain things. And then Danny's going to take over and talk about seasonality, because the real estate market is seasonal. You've heard of the spring market, the fall market, and so on. And that really has a bearing about when is the best, if you excuse the term, time to buy, best time to sell, and therefore the best time to be thinking about the process of downsizing. Yep. Then we'll get into the nitty gritty, if you like, the steps to consider, how to break it down, and then we'll finish off with some case studies, giving you a sense of some best practices and perhaps some gotchas as well as what we've seen in the real world. So a little bit around timing. So it really does depend on where and when you want to move at the end of the day. And to some extent, this is a little bit idealistic, and you'll see that a little bit in the seasonality, of course. Everybody's case is different. And as Danny just mentioned, yes, this is great, Danny, Marcus, but how does it fit for my circumstances? And that's really a point at which you can kind of sit down with us and we can walk you through the process. But really, what it comes down to is the sooner you start, the easier it's going to be. Chipping away at a big problem, break it into bite-sized chunks, if you like, is the right way to do it. And one way to think about the possessions you have in your home is in terms of 4 buckets. Stuff. I should stop saying stuff.
You've got to
I should stop saying stuff.
Belongings
possessions
that you want to keep.
Right. The possessions you want to keep that you're actually taking to your new home. What are you going to try and sell? What are you going to donate? And at the end of it, perhaps at the beginning of it, you'll see what are you going to just basically throw away. And really, this process of putting each each possession into one of these 4 buckets is really the crux really of downsizing. So when should you think about this? Well, soon, I guess, is the answer. Don't wait
As
until
as soon as possible.
Don't wait until. But some things are clearly easier. For example, in the winter, perhaps early winter would be the right way to put this, and that is the organizing piece. It's dark outside as it is this evening when we're recording this. So this is a great time to begin that process in the kind of winter months, early winter months. But then, of course, as soon as you get to spring and summer, that's the right time to be putting stuff on the curb. When you should be taking stuff to Hartwell DPW if you live in Lexington, and so on. As it becomes easier or brighter outside, that's the time to kind of start the execution, if you like. So winter, best time to think about it. Execution, a little bit, in the early.
Or starting to sort.
Right.
Starting to sort.
Yeah. So, but the key thing here is don't delay. Don't wait until I'll start next winter. No, let's not do that. The key is to get kind of started. So. That's a kind of an overview of those 4 buckets. If you remember those 4 buckets, we'll talk a lot about those in a moment. But let's talk a little bit about the seasons.
Let's get into seasonality. So why is this important? We thought it would be useful to describe how the seasons work in real estate, and also characterize which are the best times to sell. Because if you're talking about downsizing, you're talking about selling your current home and buying a smaller home. So we want to focus on selling. When's the best time to sell? So when we think about it, the buyer's psychology is that typically most folks think about selling during winter. They're hibernating inside, they're thinking about what they're going to do, what this next year is going to bring them and things. And this is when they sort of think, I think we want to move this year. Oh, let's move. When the kids have graduated school, or in the changeover of, when one year finishes, a school year finishes and the next school year starts, why don't we move? Because that's typically the best time for people who have children to move. So what it is over winter, that period, that thought process of moving is becoming more and more entrenched in people's minds. The spring market starts not when the garden looks beautiful. The spring market typically starts sometime during early to late winter. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but most of these buyers are thinking about moving. First weekend that you get at the end, when winter's starting to wind down, is the first fine weekend. They're thinking, let's go have a look at some houses. And that's typically when you start the spring market, when there's no threat of snowstorms on the weekend, the sun's shining, you can get around and do more things, you've still got coats on and there still might be snow on the ground, but the buyers are out and about. They're wanting to go and have a look at houses because they've been hibernating, they want to move, let's go see some houses. So in that period of time, you have very high demand and you've got low supply. Because most sellers don't think the right time to come on the market is when there's still snow on the ground. But we are often bringing homes on the market where we've taken the outside photos, the exterior photos, the season before. So we have nice green, lovely photos, lush grass and things, and there's still snow on the ground. But that gets the buyer's attention, the photos of nice green stuff. Oh, I remember that because, you've been having snow for a while. So that's typically when the season starts. Every year is different. So this is why we can't actually put a date to it, because every year is different. It just depends on what the winter is like. 2022, it started in the third week of January because the winter was mild. 2023 started in about the first week of February. 2015, it started the middle of March because that was a really, really bad winter and, 6-foot high snowdrifts and everything, and, trying to drive down the road and you didn't have enough. You remember those days. We don't want to think about those days. But it changes every year. And what happens is the buyers get out, they're looking at open houses, they're looking at homes, and they're thinking to themselves, because nothing's coming on, nothing's been on the market, and they start forgiving negatives or start compromising what their ideal home or their ideal next home would be. For instance, they might want a 2-car garage. Well, they go and see a home, it's only got a 1-car garage, but everything else is beautiful. There's nothing on the market. Let's buy this one, let's buy this one. So they forget about the fact that they wanted a 2-car garage because they're buying this home because everything else is right except it only has a 1-car garage. And this dynamic continues on through let's say March, through to about mid-April. So it depends on, prior to March, it depends on when the spring season actually started. But about middle of April, we start seeing an awful lot more homes coming on the market. And now the dynamic changes a little bit with the buyer psychology, because now there's more homes coming on. So if they go and see a home, let's talk about before, they want a 2-car garage, this one's just got a 1-car garage, everything else in the house is brilliant, but it's only got a 1-car garage. Let's wait until next weekend and see what comes on next weekend. Okay, so next weekend they go to a house, it's got a 2-car garage, but the kitchen's not fantastic. The primary suite isn't sort of fantastic. Well, let's wait until next weekend, see what comes on next weekend. So they're waiting for that perfect home because there are so many homes coming on the market each week. Then we get to Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend is traditionally, the buyers think of it, and everyone thinks of it. Why? Well, not just buyers, but sellers too. Think of it, okay, it's the beginning of summer. Now these same buyers, oh my goodness, we were going to move in summer. We need to buy, we need to buy, we need to buy. So they start, typically a good time for a seller is to come on the market anywhere between the second week in June to the end of July. Not the first weekend in June after Memorial Day, because a lot of homes come on the market then, but the second weekend through to the end of July. Now, why just the end of July? Well, most people need to buy a home, need a mortgage. And most mortgages, most companies, banks take 3 to 4 weeks. Now, remember, the buyers are wanting to move to get their kids into the school system. If they haven't got a home under agreement by the beginning of August, guess what? They're probably not going to make it in time for the start of the school year. So a lot of folks stop looking in August because maybe they need to find a rental instead, or maybe they just stay where they are and do another year where they are. And sellers are often thinking, well, that's it for the season, let's go on vacation. Then we have the fall market, and the fall market is traditionally a lot slower than the spring and summer market. Because when you think about it, when a buyer is looking to move in fall, if they're in a different school system, the kids might have just been at school in their school system for 2 or 3 weeks, and now you're going to buy a home and move them into a completely different school system. You're not going to do that typically. So the only buyers that you tend to have in that fall market are people that are already in your town that are looking to upsize or downsize. You do get some buyers who come in that don't have kids, and that's great. And it does depend on what town you're in. If you're in a strong school system town, the school system is very much a factor. If you're in, say, Cambridge or Somerville or some of the towns that have a great private school system, but they don't have a good public school system, it's not necessarily driven around the school system. But then that's a fairly short window there. By about mid-October, people are starting to think about Halloween, they're starting to think about Thanksgiving, and so it goes, they're really starting to slow down. There's not many homes coming on the market, and that type of thing. There are buyers out in winter, but those buyers are buyers who are looking for a deal. Because they know that any seller that has their home on the market during winter, they're motivated to sell. So I might get a good opportunity then. So now that I've described how the sequence of the year goes, the best time to sell is one on the slide there. It's beginning of the spring market, depending on the winter, to about early April. The second best time to sell is the second weekend in June to the end of July. Third best time to sell is that early April to Memorial Day weekend. That's the one that most sellers think is the best time to sell. And that's why there's an awful lot of homes coming on the market then. Then you've got mid-October, you've got the fall market.
September to
fall
mid-October,
market,
right?
yep. Then you've got October to November, and then August, and then winter. So now I have to throw a caveat in here. Over COVID, this seasonality went out the window. Any time was good to sell, because there was a mass migration of people around the country. And look, there was, I think 2020, we bought a home on the market after Thanksgiving, and we had 12 offers on the home. I think we just lost a life.
Lost a life then, I think, didn't we? There we go.
So it really does. But in 2022, the end of 2022, we were starting to see our seasonality. Come into play again. And we're seeing it in 2023 as well. But let's just show you a graph of listings that show that type of dynamic that we're talking about. So the blue bars are the number of listings. This particular graph is for Lexington, but this is typical for most towns around. You can see February is not much comes on in February, more than comes on in January. And then March, we get quite a few homes coming on, but the buyers are out in force. April, still getting more. Actually, it was quite an anomaly with 2022 as to why May was so low. And part of this is difficult to, COVID was playing an impact through some of this time. June is good, July is good. August, forget about, you can see the difference in the number of listings that come on in August. The September, October timeframe, not much happening. And then November and December, it drops right off. So you can see this listing activity on our website under our statistics page at any point in time. But the whole thing that we're trying to point out, and this relates to downsizing. There's really good times to sell and not so good times to sell. So if you're going to plan, choose the really good times to sell and do your downsizing in anticipation of coming on the market when the really good time to sell is. Now, we should go back one slide, because let's say you come on in March, really good time to sell, but you've got to buy something to get to your next house. If there's competition on your home, which we've seen for the last decade, if you've done all of the fundamentals, you've prepared the home for sale, you've staged the home's been marketed and it's been priced realistically, you will have competition. But if we can ask the buyers for a closing date which works for you. So it doesn't need to be up to the buyers when you close. We can specify in MLS that you want to close late July. So even though we're talking about March, April, May, June, July, we're talking for 4 months or so, let's say. The buyers will give you that if that's something that they know the seller would prefer. Even if it doesn't work for them, they'll do that. But if you look at that gives you those prime months for when homes come on the market to find your next home. And you can still be buying a home in June to close the end of July. So doing it that way gives you a whole raft of options if your next home still is not being determined yet.
So, and to follow up on that, and I'll turn the lights on in a moment, as you get to the next step, that's really the crux of timing a buy and a sell, which is another presentation, a masterclass that we do, where we talk around the techniques that allow you to, for example, buy a home and sell it, or sell first, buy, but essentially coincide that buy and to sell if you're not able to carry those two homes with you. So that's kind of the techniques that we talk about when we do timing a buy and sell.
And you can find them, you can find any of these as blog posts on our website as well. So timing a buy and a sell.
I'm going to turn the lights back.
Good point. But if you're choosing a good time to sell, there might still be snow on the ground. So what we do is take exterior photos the season before, and it factors in your needs for a replacement home, which is what we characterise with, looking for a home in that peak listing season. So steps. Let's talk about steps. I'm going to talk about steps for a bit, and then I think Marcus is going to do case studies.
Am I? Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know that, by the way.
That's what we do.
Okay.
Well, you can talk some of this.
Okay. All right.
So steps. Let's say if you're thinking about selling in 3 months or 5 years, there are things that you can be doing now to ease the move. So just taking those steps to get going on it. It's organising your life, you might have a whole pile of papers on your office desk. Do you need them? I know I've got them there. Do I need them? No. So start organising things to just sort of declutter, which is the next category. Discarding, trashing things, donating things, selling things, advanced packing. And we're going to drill down more into each of those categories, each of those steps in the next few slides. So organise. There's a few techniques. One of the best ones we've seen, and we've done it ourselves personally, is you create a spreadsheet. You take photos of pretty well everything you own that's got some size to it. Obviously, you don't need to take a photo of,
The clutter on my desk?
No, you don't need to take a photo of that.
I can fairly say that's going to be trashed at some point. Although I'm pretty good with that.
And add it to the spreadsheet. And then while you're thinking about what you're doing, because you're going to get to another home that's smaller, well, let's say you've got 3 dining room tables. I know that sort of sounds counterintuitive, but we've got a dining room table that we're doing this on.
We have more than one.
We've got a dining room table in the dining room, and we've got a dining room table in the breakfast area, which most people would have. Do you need 3 for the next home? You probably only need 1, because if it's a smaller home, you probably only need 1. Which one are you doing? Which one are you going to take with you to the home? Now, then, if you've got a column of keep, donate, and sell, work through to work out which dining room table goes in the keep column, which dining room table goes in a sell column. The other 2 might go in the sell column, or is one a donate column. So work through for each thing as to what you're doing with them. And we, as I sort of say in this, go through for each of the photos that you've got of your belongings and work through which is which. You don't need to decide right now which this belongs in. It wouldn't be one of the items. If you don't know what it belongs in, go on to the next one and go through the ones that you know are either keep, donate, or sell. When you've gotten somewhere near the end there, send the spreadsheet to your family, because they might want some of those things that you're planning on donating. It might be sentimental reasons. It might be that they're planning on buying a house, or they're going to upsize to a home and they need more furniture. One of the things that we've found, though, is you've got to give them a time frame for pickup. Don't just sort of say, come and get it.
I'd like that. When you're going to pick it up? Well, I need to find space for it in my house.
No,
you've
got till next weekend.
Right, yeah, next weekend, It's gone.
Yeah, so don't sort of leave it open we need it gone, or we need a definite date for when you're going to
Or a
come and
definite
pick it up
decision.
with.
If you really want it, now's the time to pick it up, because if you come along in 3 weeks, it may not be there anymore.
And another thing that some folks have done, there are people out there called organisers. And they come into a home and they will help you sort through your belongings, and they will help you identify, okay, which are the keep items, which are the sell items, which are the donate items, and the trash items, they can just get rid of them straight away for you and, take them out and put the bags on the curb, or put some of the stuff in the garage ready for it to go out to the next, large item pickup. But their job is to talk with you and help you rationalize what your belongings are and what you really need and what you don't need.
And it helps too, because an organizer is an independent third party. They don't have any sentimental value to any of this. It is literally your belongings. So the fact that they have that they can take a step back from things helps the process, I think, in terms of going through that.
Yeah.
Because you're more than likely to put everything in either the keep or the keep bucket. Right. I think everything, I may need it in the future. Well, hold on a minute. When was the last time
That's
you
my
actually
problem.
used it?
That's
Well, I don't think I've used it in a while. How many long is a while? It's 3 or 4 years. Okay, so they do help that to keep that process going.
Yeah.
As I say,
The
you're more than likely to just keep adding to the
emotion.
keep and not necessarily add to anything else.
And look, I thought that it was useful when coming up with the declutter things. We all have things that we've not used for many years. And I sat at my desk doing this and thought, well, what would I be, talking about in here? Well, so you're going to learn some things about me.
This is Danny's office at home, I think is what I'm hearing here.
Well, it's just our house at
Oh,
home.
okay.
By the way, we're married. So that pile of paperwork in my office that hasn't moved for 3 years, do I need it?
I did mine. I have to say, I did mine a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Those books that I've not read for 10 plus years. I read books on iPads now, on a Kindle. Well, I don't need the physical books, so why don't I? Some have sentimental value. Right. I'm not going to throw out everything.
I kind of did that. More work to do that.
Those old participation trophies that your kids were getting for participating, they've been gathering dust. 15 years. Do you need them? Or do the kids want them? That's okay. The stuffed animals. I've got 3 closets worth of stuffed animals that have been special for the kids. Well, do our kids need them, or do their grandchildren need them? The clothes in your closet that are 5 sizes less than you are now. One day. Maybe one day I'll get that. But no. Those old pots and pans that make it difficult to put your regularly used ones away. The old textbooks that aren't valid anymore and no longer useful. Medicines, foods, goodies that are out of date. We hate it when the kids come over because they start looking through our pantry and this is 2015.
It clears out the pantry, if nothing else. They do it every single Christmas. They come over at Christmas. They go to the pantry. It clears out the pantry every year. So
but we can do it. The coats.
We can wait for the kids to do it. We'll do
the
that.
coats, gloves. Yeah, they'd be horrified.
They'd
They'd think
love
we
it.
changed.
That's right. They'd love it. Yeah, if they saw it's all brand new, they'd be like, "Oh, what happened?"
The aliens have got them.
Something's going on. No, we're not thinking of moving. We just decided to throw away all our old foods. Yeah, no, we don't believe you.
The coats, gloves and scarves that don't get worn because you've got favourites. You don't wear those old ones. Yeah. Sheets that have holes in them. Why are they still in the linen closet? Get rid of them. Towels that are threadbare. Again, makeup and toiletries that have been gifts and you haven't used them. The kids, we see this all the time. Kids have left home, but their rooms still look like they live there. Well, start sorting it out. You've got excess furniture, but don't know what to do with it. Your storeroom is full of stuff you haven't seen for a while.
Suitcases. We definitely have more suitcases than we.
What's the difference between trash and donate items? So to me, I'm a big one on reusing things, repurposing them. If you've got things that are broken, they're trash. Get rid of them. If you've got things that others could use, and maybe you just don't want to use them anymore, that's not trash. You can donate them and get rid of them, and someone else can use them. So we're planning on giving you the information now of where you get rid of some of these things, whichever bucket it's in. So trash, discarding. As you're walking around your home, decluttering, trying to sort of figure out the different things, often you'll find a whole lot of trash. Again, my office desk, all of this. So have a bag somewhere, a trash bag handy, or a box handy, or something like that, where the trash just goes directly in. You don't need to just sort of say, that's trash, I'll get rid of that later. Start getting rid of it now as you're identifying that it's trash. As I mentioned, if others could use them, donate them. So if you've got, I'm just looking at this next thing. If you've got lots of small items, I found out last night when we did this session in person, I was using some words that people just didn't know. So here, every town has a tip.
No.
Collect a car full now and drive over. And people at the Masterclass said,
What's a tip?
What's a tip? And I said, a tip.
Tip.
Marcus knows what a tip is. I know what a tip is. And realised that it's called a dump or a transfer station. Okay. There's a few of these in this as well. So every week, put a bag in the trash collection. Let someone else take it for you. Just every week, get a big bag and that goes out. Larger items, you can put one large item out a week. Every town's different, but most allow it. And you just need to call someone to notify them that you've got a large item to go out. You could call a trash haul-away company. And some folks even get to getting dumpsters in the driveway and just loading it in. There's a whole lot of mechanisms that you can do. Hazardous waste, oils, solvents and things, they can't go in the trash. Now, if you're in Lexington, Hartwell Ave, the DPW, you can get rid of it 3 to 4 times a year, but I think that's a little bit more.
Yeah, it's more than that now. They do it usually starting in the spring till early fall.
Right.
So it's probably about 7 or 8 times, once a month.
Yep.
7 or 8 times you can go over there.
Right.
And you can hand over your trash and things, the oils, solvents, anything that's pretty disgusting, except paints. That's in the next one.
Now, paints. At closing, you need to have removed all of the paints. Unless you've got fresh paint there, they may want you get your agent to ask the buyers if they'd like some of the fresh cans of paint that are on the walls currently. And they may say yes, and you may be allowed to keep them, leave them in the home. But if they don't, and you don't know until the week before closing, you've got to get rid of those paints. So it's better, especially I know at one point in time we had so many old paints that we didn't use those colours anymore. Time to get rid of it. Now, why don't you talk about the paint?
This is really for latex paints. They don't take the latex paints at the hazardous waste because you can get rid of them yourself. Except you do need to put a hardener in there. So if you go on Amazon or Home Depot, go on Amazon and type in paint hardener, and you can buy little sachets. They're just a few dollars each, and you put half a sachet in there, and it makes the paint hard. It makes it no longer liquid. It just becomes very hard, and then you can put them in the ordinary trash. Challenge comes if you've got so many. You need to do it, over the course of a month or so. I know when I got rid of our old paints, it took probably 2 months to get rid of them because we had them from
many houses.
Yeah, we had a lot. But after it's hard, takes a few hours, then you just pop them in the trash and do it 3 or 4 a week. Otherwise, it just becomes way too heavy. But the whole trick, back to what we said at the beginning, start early and before you know it. God, they've all gone. So in 2 months will have gone. But paints you can't actually put in any dumpsters or as a liquid in the trash as well. So make sure you put a hardener. And by the way, if you go online, somebody will say, please use cat litter. Yeah, no, don't do that. No, it just makes a mess, to be honest. I tried it once because I read it and thought, hey, why not? And it's like, no, it was a total mess. So go to Amazon or Home Depot and buy these little sachets of paint hardener. Say they're just a few dollars. So that's usually the big one. And I think even if you think the buyers may want the paints, they may not. They would like the paint colors. But I mean, how many buyers are actually going to go, great, that's the paints, I'm going to go, touch up the walls. Most probably will go and hire a painter to do it and say, I want that wall ash gray. And so the colors are good to have, but the paints, most buyers, I think it's fair to say, don't want them. So make that assumption and start getting rid of them. Don't assume that the buyers will want them, because it'll come back to bite you. And that's a common one to see in homes when they've cleared everything else out. There's a whole bunch of paints in the basement.
And often, and the buyers, when they do walk through and there are paints left behind, you've got to get rid of them. You've got to take them out because they don't want them in the house at closing. So it often causes a lot of consternation for sellers when I've got to get rid of my paints. I don't know how to get, that type of thing.
I think get rid of them anyway. Be done with it.
So a lot of people have challenges with, I've got to move some heavy things. How do I do that? You might have a treadmill you want to donate. Well, how do you get it out onto the driveway for someone to come and pick up? There's a lot of folks around that you can use if you just point to a trash pile or point to something there and say, this needs to go out there, this needs to go out there. Help Around Town is it's a website that's developed by a local Lexington person, and it's where people are looking for work and where people are looking to hire people who want work. Local high school kids, they're always looking for money. Yeah, they're always looking for money.
Find a couple of big burly footballers, good to go.
Or as I called them yesterday, big burly blokes.
Burly blokes, that's an Australian thing. You get used to when you live with an Australian, but
or there's hourly rate movers. We use movinghelp.com a few times in the last few years to find people that help us stage homes, carry in big sofas and things. And they work on an hourly rate. And we've actually found really good people. We had one group of 2 movers, and we used them for about 6 years. And then one of them did his ankle in and couldn't work any longer. And then the current group that we've got now, oh gosh, I think we've had them for 6 years as well. And they're really reliable and really good. So, if you find someone that's good, keep using them. So donate. Okay. So what hasn't been claimed by family members or friends and is in your donate column, well, we've got a whole series of options for you. Now, this is the next thing that I got in trouble with last night with our in-person masterclass. I had put on your nature strip with a free sign.
I always thought it was a nature strip.
Yeah. And people asked, what's a nature strip? And I say, the nature strip. And someone said, you mean the curb? So it's changed now for tonight.
Curb.
Put it on
Spelled
the curb.
Incorrectly.
No, that's correctly.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
K-E-R-B.
No. Put it on the curb with a free sign on it. Often you don't even need the free sign.
No, you just leave it out there.
Come and take
it just magically disappears.
If you're local to the Arlington, Lexington area, there's a Buy Nothing Arlington/Lexington Facebook group. This is across the country, across the world actually. I know I had to go back to Australia to help my mum downsize. Well, she needed to have 2 6-bedroom homes emptied, and I thought, I wonder if there's a Buy Nothing. And sure enough, there was in Australia. There are these sites as well. So
Buy Nothing Australia.
Hey?
Buy
No,
Nothing
Buy
Australia.
Nothing Cows or Buy Nothing
Melbourne,
Bumbog,
right?
that type of thing.
Melbourne. Because it's not very big, Australia. You could just have it Buy Nothing Australia, really, couldn't you?
No, it's the same thing. It's local. So I don't know whether it's across the world, but it was in Australia and it's in here. There's also freecycle.org. they're all over the place. You post things on there, and people will come and pick it up. There's also a Lexington MA reuse it list, and you can put things on there. People come and get them. That's really popular. I have to tell you, we did put something. We had a huge entertainment center, glass, chrome, mechanized, doors that closed and things like this, and it was just too big for the room, and we were getting a different setup in our family room. So we needed to dismantle it, and I thought it would be good to give it away for free to someone. Give it away for free. So I put it in the Buy Nothing Arlington Lexington Facebook group. Not a single person asked me about it. And I think this thing cost a fortune when we bought it. Sure enough, it cost a lot, many, many years ago. And I kept a couple of times, kept trying to do it. No activity. So I then put it on Facebook Marketplace for $500, and I got a lot of interest. And I thought, okay, still no one's biting. So I put it on for $250, gone same day. And I'm thinking, I tried giving this away and someone wants to give me $250.
They didn't think it worked.
Okay.
It did, actually.
It did.
Work.
It was great.
I took it apart really carefully. It was all there, all the bits are there.
Took photos of how...
This is how you put it back together. There we go.
Yeah. So you will find decent things, but I think part of the thing is people put less value on something if they can get it for free. But there's a lot of folks that don't. I mean, we've had instances where we've got those plastic shelving units, and we've put things on them outside of our garage and taken photos of the things and put the photo on the Buy Nothing group thing and said, come and get it. Here's the address. And they go.
Appliances, we did it with the house we were switching the appliances out. We did the same thing. We put them outside the garage, took photographs, and they all went.
Within about an hour.
Right, they turn up in their car, and you think, do you think it'll fit in the back of the car? You go, well, we can give it a go, but sure enough.
And they fit.
Yeah, there you go.
So you can donate an awful lot of things by just putting it out there into the world, and people will come and get it.
There you go.
But there's also organisations that'll take these things. So here's one, Goodwill. There are 2 different drop-off locations that are close to us here. One's in a trailer behind the Walgreens at 60 Bedford Street in Lexington. The other is a trailer in Stop and Shop car park at 905 Mass Ave in Arlington. You can take a lot of stuff there. They take clothing, backpacks, bags, luggage, cookware, small electronics, computers, laptops, stereo equipment, printers, speakers, books, CDs, DVDs, sporting equipment, artwork, bedding and curtains. You can get rid of an awful lot of stuff there. Obviously, you need to drop it off, but a lot of that stuff is not hard to drop off because, they're relatively smaller. There's another one. We do this a lot with Vietnam veterans. They'll pick up from your driveway, and you can use www schedule a pickup and specify. They'll say they'll ask for your address. They'll tell you when they're next in the area, and they tend to be every month or so. I've seen.
You get the envelopes in the mail once a month, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they're next donating, you just register online and.
Yeah.
There you go.
We've gotten rid of clothes. Well, 5 sizes too small clothes.
A lot of clothes.
A lot of clothes. Housewares, books, toys, bikes, working electronics, curtains, drapes, bedding, linen, kitchenware, small furniture, rugs, small appliances, tools. You can get rid of a lot. And they give you those donation, your tax, the tax thingies
Charity,
as well.
yeah, donation to a charity is tax deductible.
Yeah.
Given the tax day is
In
quite close.
a month's time.
A month's time, 15.
So, Household Goods of Acton, and there's the website for it. You can drop stuff off there, or they do a limited pickup. Now, it's done by volunteers. They do say on their website, call when you're planning on dropping off just to make sure that someone's there. And limited pickup, They will do a whole lot of towns around Acton. They didn't have Lexington on there, but I have heard of instances where they've come to Lexington. So it might be just a case of if they've got a truck that's going to be in Bedford, because Bedford's one of them, they'll just come a little bit further along to come and pick it up.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah. And look, you can get rid of beds, standard size mattresses. It's really difficult to get rid of mattresses.
Mattresses are hard.
Box springs, bed frames, bunk beds, bureaus, dressers, armoires. They're a bit harder to drop off, but bureaus, dressers, armoires, couches, sofa beds, futons, chairs, tables, kitchen dining, end tables, coffee tables, side tables, TV stands.
So it goes on and on and
and
on.
on and on. I don't need to read all of those things out, but you see they take a huge amount of those bigger items that typically people have the most problems getting rid of. Then we've got Salvation Army. You can schedule a pickup from them as well, or you can drop off at Grace Chapel in 50 Worthing Road in Lexington. But again, look, cars. They'll take cars. Small and large appliances. That's interesting with the large appliances. We didn't think about that when we had some appliances to get rid of. But they take furniture, beds, mattresses, chairs, tables, rugs, kitchenware of all sorts, clothing, linens, all sorts of linens, mowers.
Rollerblades, I can get rid of my rollerblades.
Yeah.
Given that I don't do that anymore.
You never did
Oh,
that.
sorry. But I could have.
Stuffed animals, mowers, lawn mowers. There's so much that they will take. Another one, St. Vincent de Paul. You can donate your car, clothing drop off. They have that you need to call for drop off locations. But they will pick up large items, and they do say that a minimum of 3 large items and approximately 2 weeks out scheduling. And you can see there's a huge amount of different things that they'll pick up. But what we're getting at is there's so many places you can donate stuff. Big brother, big sister, drop off or schedule a pickup. The drop off is at Medford Town Hall. A whole array of different things that you can. I thought this was interesting. They specified small toaster ovens.
Not big toaster ovens.
Okay. But toys, musical instruments, all those sorts of things.
Record albums.
Then you've got.
They're back in vogue, did you know that?
What's that? Record albums? Yeah.
More records were sold this year than CDs.
No.
Yeah, that's what I read that. Must be true.
We'll talk about that later. New Day is
my record collection's coming back in the
New Day is an international relief organisation that was started by someone in Massachusetts, I believe. They have a drop-off in a rolling container located in Needham. But they take a whole array of things as well. I thought it was interesting that they take medicines too, and food, all of those. Now we get into more specific types of donations. If you've got building materials that are taking up room in your house and you're never going to do anything more with that stuff, Boston Building Resources will take your goods. Habitat for Humanity will take your goods. And if you go to those websites, it'll tell you how you actually donate. And I believe it's pickups generally with those. Yep. But laptops, cables, cords, CDs, phones, toner cartridges, keyboards, headphones, Green Disc, they promote themselves as responsible destruction or reuse of tech materials. So they're good to investigate. Best Buy, take TVs, computers, cell phones, etc. Books. There's a few different a few different places that we've seen people donate books to. More Than Words. They'll come and pick up this stuff. I think they're in Waltham, but you can drop off boxes of books there. Schedule a pickup if you've got 10 boxes or something, and that's too much. There's a drop-off container at Hartwell Ave, DPW. Or Carey Library. You can drop them off in boxes at Carey Library, and they'll either sell them or recycle them or I don't know if they put them on their shelves. I don't think so. Bikes. There's a place called Bikes Not Bombs, and they tell you how you can donate to them. Or there's it's not
Container.
a container, but it's beside a container.
Yeah, no, there's a container. You can put
Okay.
a container there. They have a container. You put them in there.
Okay, so you can do that with your bikes.
Avenue.
Yeah, donating them there, and I think Bikes Not Bombs resells them or resells parts as well.
Refurbishes them and sells them probably.
Yep. So selling. Okay. Furniture that you're not planning on taking to your new home, and you either want to sell it or donate it. Get rid of them now, if you don't need them right now, but get rid of them prior to us coming into stage, because what we'll do is we'll replace those items with our staging furniture so that your house doesn't look vacant. But if you've gotten rid of the dining room tables and you decided you don't want a dining room table because you've got a breakfast bar in the next home and you don't want the dining room table, get rid of it now and we'll bring in a dining room table and chairs. But there's a few methods to sell. Consignment sales. ConsignWorks is a place that they will actually come into your home, take photos of the items in your home, put stickers, price stickers on the things in your home. They'll take photos. Did I take?
Yep.
Oh, I
Put
said
stickers
that.
on, take photos.
And then they put them on their website and they advertise a consignment sale over a weekend. Oh my goodness, the amount of traffic, the amount of people that go and do those consignment sales. I was staggered. Just 4 weeks ago, I was heading to an open house to do an open house. And I'm driving past all of these cars just around the corner from our house.
Our open house?
I was going to do one of
for
our open
The cars are
houses.
for our open house, but no.
No. Oh, that too.
That too, as well. But
But there were cars all over the place, and I'm driving along thinking, what's this all about? And it was a consignment sale. So people were coming into the home, they were buying things, taking them straight away with them. Or if it's larger furniture, they were arranging to come and pick it up later. And that went for 2 days. I have read that, and I have heard from people, that if you want a deal, always go in the last 1 to 2 hours of a consignment sale, because if the item hasn't sold for $50, let's say, they might just give it away for $5 because the seller doesn't want it. Let's just get rid of it and do that. So, but you might not have much choice at that point. But they'll do it in your home. The Dutiful Daughter. This is a Connecticut and Massachusetts company, and there is someone, the Massachusetts company is Sean McAdam, and they will help in all phases. They will help you sort through the trash items, the donate items, and the sell items, and you can hire them for either of those services or all of them, and if you're doing the consignment, they'll take the goods away and sell them in their store on consignment. They are a little selective as to what they'll take, because they don't necessarily take things that are just going to sit in their store for 12 months and not sell. They are a little bit selective, but that's one way of doing it. And Sisters Estate Sales do the same thing as ConsignWorks. They'll come in and do a consignment sale at your home. But you've also got eBay. eBay is a great place for selling items that you no longer need. And you can set the price, or eBay is also auction.
you can do either, yes, you can do either now, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Either an auction or you set a price and buy it now, if you like. And
Yeah.
that's what they call it on eBay.
Facebook Marketplace. I told you the story before about the fact that I was trying to give stuff away, and I actually sold it on Facebook Marketplace and got $250, and I was happy about that. But that's a good place to be doing things. Craigslist.
We were a little bit, should we put that on there? Should we not? because it's a little bit of the Wild West, I think it's fair to say. We've had some experiences recently, not putting things on Craigslist, but with things being put on Craigslist.
That weren't real.
That weren't supposed to be there, that weren't real. So I think of all the ones that you see there, they're at the bottom of the list for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of the Wild West. I'm sure other people have had great experiences with it. Ours is a little bit, I'm not so sure about that. That may be the last thing you do.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff.
If you have the stuff in the driveway and they don't have to come into the house or something like
things
this.
like that.
You know.
Yeah, maybe that's the right way to go.
Yeah, but still then they've got your telephone number and they've got your, you know.
Bit of the Wild West, that one.
Yeah. So now, keep things. So keep things, just think of it as advanced packing. You know, depending on how far away you are from wanting to sell your home, some of the things that really need to be changed or really need to be packed away are photos, you know, photos of the family. So start putting them in a box, do some advanced packing. You know, if you don't see the photos of your kids when they were 6 years old for the next 3 months, okay, that's all right. I'm sure
I'd be okay with that. They probably wouldn't be, but I think I'd be okay with that.
But anything small or hasn't been used in a while, pack it away, especially if you're keeping it and you know that it's something sentimental or something like that. Start packing boxes. Now, boxes to pack, it's really good if you get 2 or 3 standard sizes, because let's say you're going to put them in your garage or in the basement and they're going to stay there while your home's on the market. If you've got all higgledy-piggledy sizes of things and, you know, boxes, it looks a bit disorganized. But if you've got things in, you know, you've got a pile up against the wall of the, you know, that size boxes and they're stacked all the way. And then you've got a different size box for up the wall. It just gives a more organized feel to it. And that's important for the buyers, because buyers, if they see organization in a home, they know they have this. If something went wrong with this house, the sellers would have fixed it. They're organized. So it's setting that tone as to who you are. Personal photos, memorabilia, china cabinet contents. A lot of folks forget about that, because if you've got empty shelving in, you know, even in your bookshelves, if you've got empty shelving, when a buyer walks through your home and there's empty shelves, oh, there's a lot of space in this home, isn't there? They haven't used all the shelves. Yeah, because you've packed the things away. But the china cabinet is often one that's forgotten and there's lots and lots of stuff in there. Well, pack it away, leave some things out, but not many things out. Crockery that you won't be needing soon, but you want to keep it, pack it away. Off-season clothing. You know, if you're selling in 3 months' time and you're now at the end of winter, you're not going to be needing your winter clothes again for another 12 months, well, 9 months. Pack them away.
Unless you're moving to Maine. It seems to be a big destination.
That's a good point.
People who are moving to Maine, you'll need them sooner.
I want to move somewhere
But if
south.
you're going south, no, not so much.
Toys and books and memories, pack them away.
Yeah.
What happens is that the only things that should be in your home when it comes on the market are the things that you plan to keep, either stored neatly away in the basement or garage, storage unit, or it's furniture that is being used in your home and supplemented by the staging furniture that we'll bring in, which means that you can be packing those things away. But it does make the final move easier. You basically tell the moving company, move everything. It's not a, oh, what'll I do here? Will I take that? Will I take that? Will I take that? It's move everything. Everything's
Decision's already made.
Yeah,
Makes that final move
done. Yeah.
so much easier. Yeah.
And it's just no more sorting through of what to take. Just take it all, because you've already done that planning in advance. And we've seen this a few times. It's tough. It's tough for the sellers that don't do this in advance.
Right. Becomes just a little bit daunting, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
Yep.
So case studies.
Let's talk through the case study, shall we?
Will we do these together? Or?
Let's do these together. That means Danny will talk a lot and I'll just... So these are nice pictures. Danny, would you like to tell me about pictures?
You know the pictures.
Yes, I think I do know the
This
pictures.
is a family
Right.
room.
This was the family room. Clearly, they had lots of stuff, no question about that. The challenge in this case, it was not, I'm thinking of moving in the next 6 to 9 months. How should I approach the problem? It really was, I'm thinking of moving in the next month.
3 weeks.
What should I do? And then, clearly, as you can see from the photos, becomes a little bit, deer in the headlights. So that's why we say, time and time again, think about this in advance, not 3 weeks before you're going to sell. Because all of this, it's neatly organized, but are you keeping it? Are you donating it? Are you selling it? Has that decision already been made? In many cases, it actually hadn't. So it became a very stressful exercise to take this house from where it is right now to where it needed to be before we could bring it on the market in a relatively short space of time. So really the key is think about it early, start actioning it in the simple way, that relatively simple way that Danny just kind of talked you through. And all of a sudden it becomes much, much easier. I've already done those 3. I've got a few things I need to get rid of. And becomes much, much easier.
And this is, this is in the bedroom, and this is in the landing that they were using as an office. So it was overwhelming for them. So the profile, they wanted to move to a smaller home. Logistics and the ease of the move was most important to them.
Right.
So we helped them arrange a dumpster so that any sorting that happened could immediately be categorized and trashed
if
it was trash. Or put in the donate, keep, or sell pile. It did take us 1 month to sort through it all, and as Marcus said, it was really stressful for the sellers. But they wanted to come on the market at the optimal time of the market, which meant we needed to get busy with it now. We couldn't sort of wait any longer.
Yeah, so if the whole move wasn't stressful enough, which it clearly is in many cases, the move to a new home, all of that. So if that wasn't stressful enough, you've got the stress of, I need to get everything organized in the home that I'm in. So, back to this, the whole process, it can be made as seamless and as smooth, stress-free would be the wrong word, but minimizing stress by thinking up front before you actually approach this. So that's the key. In this case, it was a stressful month.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just better to gradually do it over time.
Right. Next case was a little bit different, of course, right?
Yep.
Here they did think ahead. How do I organize this? There were boxes and boxes of books, from what I remember.
Yep, this is where I found out about More Than Words.
Right.
This seller knew about More Than Words, and she had
boxes and
many
boxes.
pickups of 10 boxes. But this seller was moving into an independent living place. So paring down her belongings was key because she was only moving into a relatively small space. We arranged an organizer.
And back to what we mentioned before, an organizer helps in that they're an independent third party. You're more than likely to say, I might need that. As soon as you say that, clearly you won't. But it's difficult for you to come to that conclusion. Much easier if somebody says, well, so when was the last time you actually used this?
Yeah.
Well, I never use it. So 3 or 4 years ago. Do you think you're going to use it in the next 12 months? No, probably not. Okay, let's kind of move it into one of those buckets. So that's why an organizer helped, and it definitely helped in this case, just to help you with that whole process.
Yeah.
Get you started, if nothing else, and perhaps take you through all the way through the process. That was kind of key. And this was where they did a consignment sale to help them sell some items. And guess what? Family come in and periodically help with this. They're more than willing to help in most cases. Donated many items, trashed others. But the key thing here is they spent about 6 months doing this process.
Yep.
Quietly sorting through things. And guess what? No surprise. The move was a piece of cake.
Yep.
Because all of that work was done. And it wasn't just like case number 1. Okay, it's a month, let's get going. You're on the blocks, it's sprint. This was much more of a kind of
quietly doing it,
right.
and feeling calm about the whole thing, and knowing that she had made the right decision for every item that she considered, because she wasn't in a hurry to work through. It wasn't got to get rid of this, got to get rid of this, got to get, what do I do with this?
Yeah. I've got lots of books. I mean, I can't imagine where I could get rid of them. Let's just trash them. Actually, you've got enough time to think, so where will I give them? Talk to maybe you've got a different charity that you support, maybe a religion you support. Can you get rid of books? Can I help you out? And it sort of made that whole process, oh, great, I can give it to something that I resonate with.
Yeah.
So that's why it became much, much easier in that case.
So this next one, this looks like, it doesn't look like my office desk, but no, it doesn't. Come and have a look at my office and I'll prove that it doesn't.
You said you
look
organised
like this.
it the other day.
No, I didn't. But this was a seller who was moving cross country. He had adult children. They'd already moved out of home, but paring down the belongings was key to minimise the cost of moving cross country. Because why take two semi-fulls worth of belongings when you actually only need half of it?
And only to trash it at the other side of the country. It doesn't make sense. Do it before you put it in the semi as opposed to afterwards. That probably a semi is probably an Australian word.
A big truck.
Big truck. Big lorry. No, you just said lorry, I guess.
No, that's a British thing.
Oh, it's British term, is it? Okay. 18-wheeler they would call it.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. The 18-wheeler.
But the seller arranged for the children to come and collect their stuff, and anything they didn't want was going to be disposed of.
That's a key one there.
They had a time frame.
There we go.
They needed to come and get their stuff.
If it's still here in 3 weeks, guess what?
Yep. But they started quietly packing the easy things and then storing boxes in the garage. They created a spreadsheet of furniture and the larger items of what they wanted to keep, and it helped them organise what is it I'm going to keep. It's not a case of, do I need something like this, or have I already got something like this? It's, oh yeah, okay, I've got one of these. Well, which one do I really want? That type of thing. They donated a whole lot of items and they trashed a lot of others. But they took about 2 months quietly sorting through things, and we came on the market. We supplemented their furniture, and the move was easier and it was cheaper. So I think there was another couple that, oh no, I won't talk about that. But don't get distracted by, well, I will.
Yeah, it's a good story actually. It's a good story to say about how it can become just a little bit overwhelming. And
the right decisions need to be made, not the wrong decisions.
Right.
But this was an elderly couple. Their health wasn't fantastic, and they had something like 50 years worth of accumulated stuff in their home, and they were just overwhelmed. So over many visits, I was talking to them about, well, just take it a bit at a time, just a little bit at a time. And they said, but we'll find that really hard to do. And I sort of said, well, look, how about this week you start packing away things in this room, and just concentrate on this room. Don't look at any other room. Let's just start looking at this room and just do it quietly. And I'll come back next week and see how you're going. And this was something that we'd arranged, was that I would come back each week and see how they're going and offer advice again and things. And the next week I came back and they hadn't actually unpacked, they hadn't done anything in that room, but they'd gone up into the attic, which was a pull-down attic. The buyers don't go up there. They pulled down everything that was in the pull-down attic and brought it downstairs, and now there was just more stuff to overwhelm them.
Right.
Instead of doing a little bit at a time, they just did twice, made it twice as hard. Because that stuff in the attic can wait for a while, because it's not going, if it's been up in the attic, you probably don't need it.
It's likely going into trash realistically, so.
But anyway, after a few weeks, their health started suffering and they decided we need to stop, we can't do this. And it wasn't until a year later when their 2 adult children came over from California and moved them and helped them clear everything and moved them. And that's when we bought their home on the market. But you need to sort of start thinking about this stuff now. Don't leave it until too late, because
that's the
your
key.
health is important too.
Right.
But just quietly start chipping away at things and have a plan.
Yep.
Have a plan's really, really important. I think that's
it.
That's it. Look, if you've got any questions about any of this, then please don't hesitate to reach out.
If you need those contact details, you can't see them for the video, reach out to us. We can help. We can definitely send you that list. No problem at all. So let us know. And if you have any suggestions of places you can donate things, let us know. We'll clearly update the presentation with that, and then maybe another seller in the future can take advantage of that. So if you have any suggestions on things that perhaps we didn't mention here, organizations, let us know, because I'm sure there's more than what there's clearly more than we have here.
A couple of the donation places were volunteered by the people at our in-person one last night, so we added them in there because that's important information. And we don't have all of the answers, we just have some of the answers and want to share them with people so that it makes it easier on you.
There you go. So start early.
Yes.
And thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.